I'm talking about people who are purged from that early voting list.
Can we use neutral names? They're being removed after multiple checks to make sure that they actually aren't there. They're not being purged.
That is how you describe it, sir. And we do appreciate you coming on.
I'm not spinning it, so that's why I'm doing the truth. I'm not doing spin.
I'm not spinning it either.
Arizona State. What am I, Stalin? Come on, don't be ridiculous. This is why we can't have reasonable discussions across the political divide. Because everybody wants to throw gasoline on what should be a critical intellectual discussion.
Sir.
Today we're going to talk about unproductive conversations. We're going to talk about the news media's favorite format, two heads yelling at each other. Because why would you ever want to have an in-depth conversation on the issues when you can just shout insults and disregard facts? Why would you want to educate your audience when you can just brainwash them instead? Why would you want a productive conversation where some consensus is reached when you can just stuff your head full of confirmation bias and everybody can cheer at themselves because they're so smart? CNN, the motherlode of psyops. And they have a new sheriff on the scene. Well, at least that's what she wants to be. Brianna Keiler. She's been at CNN for a while doing this and that, but now she finally has her own show. So it's time to show everybody who's boss. And it seems like CNN is really pushing hard to make her their new star. In my opinion, it's not working out too well. She's kind of trying to be like the left's Tucker Carlson, where she has people from the other side and then she argues with them. Except she's not good at the arguing part, which is the problem. Oh, she has the attitude down. She has this smug, like, deadpan, I know more than you demeanor down pat. She's got that. But she really fails to argue effectively at all, which I guess for CNN is okay, because the arguments really don't matter. But as you'll see in this clip, she's very underwhelming when it comes to those big moments where she needs that clap back, and it never comes. Also, interestingly enough, after divorcing her first husband, she found a new beau, a director on the National Security Council, Fernando Lujan, which, now I'm not going to insinuate anything, but it is always an interesting rabbit hole when you look at the spouses. Could it be that this is a new Washington power couple? The swamp is deep and wide, and when there's links between the intelligence community and reporters, well, it's always a bit precarious. But we're getting off track now. On to the clips. And this is how it started.
Who said something last month that appears to have answered that question that I was asking a little more clearly. You said, quote, not everybody wants to vote. And if somebody is uninterested in voting, that probably means that they're totally uninformed on the issues. Quantity is important, but we have to look at the quality of votes as well. What is a quality vote, as you put it?
Quality vote is a legal voter who says, I want a ballot. That's the quality vote.
You said it's someone who's informed.
What I was referring to...
Now, I don't really know the details of this bill that they're discussing, and I don't know this state rep. Never heard of him before, never heard him talk. So we're just going to break this one down based on rhetoric. And there is already tension. We are 30 seconds in, and they are already arguing and talking over each other. Now, if you were trying to present a useful piece of journalism, you might want to ask your guest for clarification or try to understand what he's saying. Does Brianna Keiler do that? Of course not. Her immediate reaction to his answer is just to say, you're wrong. He's answering your question. You asked his opinion and he answered you. How can he be wrong? It's literally his opinion based on your question. And that's why this is all bullshit. You start off the segment with a quote from this guy, which, if we're going to talk about the actual quote, there's nothing wrong with it in the first place. But then you ask him a question, and since he has this quote, he's not allowed to answer differently in this context? What?
There were two quotes that were commingled there. I made a statement, not everyone should vote. That statement was made in reference
I didn't
to
say that's not
ballots.
the quote I pulled. This was not a commingled
I understand.
quote. This is what you said.
But that was also part of the narrative.
That is
What I
not what
simply
we're
said
talking about
was-
here, so let's not change the subject. I'm talking about the quote that I asked you about.
It's the same interview in the same article. And
Okay. She's awful. Like, and I know. This is not meant to illuminate anything. She's meant to be the big bad woman who's in control of her newsroom. And she's not going to take any crap from the men anymore, particularly the white men. So it just descends into this argument back and forth where there are no facts to be found. As far as I can tell, she asked him about this term quality vote, and he gave a pretty reasonable definition that I kind of like. But she has this holy quote that she brought up at the beginning that is just the end-all be-all. Just forget about the damn quote, Brianna. You have the guy literally right in front of you. You can ask him whatever you want. If his answer's different now, maybe you're asking a different question. Maybe the context is different.
And my enemies have attempted to link the two of them together.
I'm
But
not
I'll
linking
talk to
them,
the
so
quote that you
answer that
said.
for me. What is a
Oh my God. You're not linking them? That's exactly what you're doing. You are linking them, Brianna. You're using this quote to dismiss his definition of quality voter. He's telling you right to your face the context was different for the quote you're using. But it's all a game to these people. This is a friggin' TV show that is just meant to brainwash people. All it is.
quality vote, as you put it? Because you said
A quality
that if
vote
someone is
a
uninterested in
non-fraudulent
voting,
vote made by somebody who said, I want to vote, I registered, give me a ballot. That's a quality vote. Now, what
you
who
said
There you go. He gives it to you again since you weren't listening the first time. Can you please just steer the interview based on that definition? Use it as a jumping off point. Please, I'm begging you.
that
shouldn't
they
be-
were.
I
You
don't
said
believe that we
you
should
said you talked
register
about people being
without their
uninformed on the
knowledge.
issue.
I don't think we should send people ballots if they're not interested. But if they're interested in voting, I would never stop somebody from voting.
You're going to miss people. You're going to miss people who have a right to vote. And as an
How?
example, I just want to point this out, and I know this to be true.
What is she even talking about now? You call yourself a journalist? He's answering your questions. Ask a follow-up if you want. You have but you have your quota of buzzwords and the crap you want to say in this segment. And whatever your interviewee says, it just doesn't matter because you need to hit those points. You need to hit them.
You have a number of military installations in your state.
They have different
you-
military ballots. They have
listen-
separate military ballots.
Are you aware that this bill will have the effect of purging military voters from your rolls? Military
It will not.
voters.
There's a separate military ballot that came up on the floor. That's another myth about the bill.
Okay, one more chance, Brianna. He just responded to your accusation that military ballots will be missed. He said you're repeating a myth. Can we have some quotes from the bill? Maybe put them up on the screen? If you're so sure you're right, why can't we have any evidence? Show us the proof. I'll just settle for a simple follow-up question even. And I know I'm repeating myself because this is all just a fake news segment meant to get you thinking emotionally, but it's always curious when an interview descends into anarchy like this one. Why don't you just put up the bill right there? Let's see the actual words. You're both saying completely different things. One person's right, or you could both be wrong, but just show the actual evidence, show the actual words in the bill, and let's discuss that. That's why this is not about illuminating facts to the public. This is about a shouting match meant to get you to think one way.
There are separate military ballots.
This is a very real possibility.
Do you
And I
understand
know-
that there are separate military ballots? Because now you
Listen,
refuse to accept the fact
No,
that
listen, I'm a
saying,
military
and you're
family.
dodging the
I'm a
question.
military family, so I'll tell you what I know.
I can't even anymore. That is just so smug. First of all, you're a military family? It would have been a nice soundbite for all the CNN droolers if you had just phrased it right. Your husband is a director on the National Security Council. You have a military family. You, in fact, are not a military family yourself. But I suppose if she identifies that way, who am I to say? But that smug attitude, man. I'm a military family, so let me tell you. Ugh. And at this point, I'm done trying to dissect this dribble. This was never meant to be a productive conversation. It was set up as a gotcha moment so all the CNN fans can clap their hands and freak out over the woman taking control of the mean white man. More bullshit. It's all a clown show. We're just living in it. And the main thing this is set up to do is to nudge the audience in her direction. That's why everything is built on emotions. You have the strong woman against the old white man, and when it immediately turns into a shouting match, it's emotional overload. The audience isn't paying attention to the facts anymore. Not that they ever were, but they aren't concerned at all with her twisting up logic and all her misdirection. When it starts to get heated, they'll immediately take her side because she's repeating the things that they want to hear. When emotions run high, the audience is going to pick their safe side, and at that point, it just becomes a tribal thing. They split off into teams, and they're not even listening to the words anymore. They'll just defend their team, no matter what. When she gets mad, they just agree with her more. And the divide gets wider and wider. But they keep going at it.
Which is
I'm talking Arizona, and I'll tell you what I know. There are separate military ballots that are not affected by this.
There are people who are registered, and I'm talking not just about in the military, because you know that people around someone in the military, it's not just a military member. There is a family around that military member. They can be legally registered to vote in Arizona. They may be somewhere else. They may have moved. And this will
They will not get, then we're stopping
excuse me,
that.
sir, I'm not finished.
Okay.
This will purge some of them from the rolls. This has happened in my family while my husband was deployed, okay. And only because I saw a final in a moment.
She just goes on and on. It's her pre-written and rehearsed nonsense. All emotional appeals meant to tug at your heartstrings a little more. And he's just like, can I answer the question? Because why is he even there at this point? You could have literally done the segment without even talking to him. But he's really just there because he's a good punching bag, is what it comes down to.
Only because I saw a final notice was I able to stop that. This will happen.
Can I answer now?
Of course.
Okay. First of all, if the family is overseas, that does not count these ballots we're talking about.
It doesn't have to be, sir, they're not just overseas, they move domestically.
But they're deployed outside of the state.
They move domestically, you know this. They can be registered to vote in Arizona and they can be in another state.
These are not the ballots we're talking about. Those are different ballots.
Those are normal
These are the ballots that are sent to addresses in Arizona. Military families get different ballots. And by the way, you can't forward a early ballot mailed to an Arizona address.
I don't get a different ballot.
And it continues to be ridiculous. Just shouting back and forth like children. It's all a clown world now, and these are the people meant to give you information. These are the people keeping you informed. CNN bringing you unbiased facts and news. Yeah, sure. Brianna Keiler so badly wants to be the new Tucker Carlson on the left, and she just might succeed with this kind of bullshit. Because this is what gets her base riled up. I'm sure she probably had thousands of people cheering her on for this interview. Because everything's a joke. And politics is just a team sport where nobody cares about facts. It's just all about winning.
How can the ballots we're mailing to Arizona residences not get to the other people when by law now they can't go there? They're different ballots you're talking about. We're talking about ballots that are mailed to non-military people who live in the state, who probably moved or are dead and aren't there to get them.
And there's no evidence that there's no evidence that there is widespread voter fraud.
There we go. And I can rest easy now. It was all just building up to that classic refrain. There is no widespread voter fraud. It's just fake news at this point. Repeating meaningless phrases. It's religious. CNN are a bunch of religious zealots, just repeating nonsense phrases to keep the masses in line. I just noticed as I was editing this video, this obvious moment where she kind of gives it away that she's being instructed what to say on the teleprompter. Like, it's when she's saying this thing about there being no widespread voter fraud, the old buzzword. But at first she says there's no evidence that they...
And there's no evidence that they...
And then there's this long, awkward pause where neither of them speak. It seems pretty obvious to me that she is just reading someone instruct her what to say through the teleprompter. I can't explain that long pause. Maybe she just couldn't think for a second, but it looked like a pretty obvious moment of her getting fumbled up with the teleprompter and not knowing what to say. I didn't catch that the first time. Let me know if you think that's what happened there. I'll play it right here.
And there's no evidence that there's no evidence that there is widespread voter fraud.
So, yeah. I don't know. Here's the rest of the video, though. I'm going to skip to the end of it because he starts to fight back a little bit and it descends into just a perfect example of CNN reporting and a perfect example of what this shouting heads format is supposed to get across. It's supposed to get you riled up. It's supposed to get your blood boiling. And it's supposed to make you think emotionally because they want to divorce you from the facts. When it becomes emotional, the facts don't matter. And that's where they can insert whatever bias, whatever point of view they want to insert. Get someone upset and you can convince them of anything. And the end's kind of hilarious. He defends himself quite well at the end here. And just pay attention to all of the loaded language she uses, all meant to nudge her audience in a particular direction. She keeps on hurling emotional appeals at him, and he does a pretty good job of breaking down her bullcrap and just kind of calling out the whole interview. And if Brianna wants to be the new CNN star, she might have to start tightening up these arguments because she doesn't really do well in that department. Wait. What am I saying? Scratch that. I'm trying to think about this logically. She's actually the perfect new CNN star. This is exactly what they want. Enjoy.
Nobody there. It's a waste of money.
But you're going to purge people who may have moved.
Must we use spin words in this discussion?
No, that's not a spin word. That's just a fact.
We're removing people who haven't voted in any of the last 4 elections, local or municipal, after they don't reply to a letter they received after 3 months and after they don't respond to phone calls and emails from the election people.
Yes, to their old residents.
To prevent errors than we do with the actual
phone number and
ballots
the
themselves
address.
when they come back with signature discrepancies.
To the phone number and the address that you have on record, which if they have moved on, you may not be tracking them
They
correctly.
write their phone number on the ballot when they vote.
And if they haven't voted recently, you're going to have a problem. As you are aware, people change phone numbers.
They still get the mail. Do you pay bills that come in the mail?
A lot of mail isn't forwarded. You're aware of that. There's a lot of problems with that.
Well, if it's, yeah, and if they move, they're not eligible to use that
that's
ballot
not necessarily
in that
true.
precinct.
Look, that's not necessarily
You're
true.
really twisting the facts.
I'm
to
saying
make
for
your
being
point
purged,
here.
it's
All
not
we're
the
doing is
precinct.
trying to
I'm
get
talking about
people who
being
are
purged
dead
from
or
the
moved off
early
of the
voting
list.
roll. I'm talking about people who are purged from that early voting list.
Can we use neutral names? They're being removed after multiple checks to make sure that they actually aren't there. They're not being purged.
That is how you describe it, sir. And we do appreciate
Well, I'm
you
not
coming
spinning
on.
it, so that's why I'm doing the truth. I'm not doing spin.
I'm not spinning it either.
Well,
Arizona
purge?
State.
What am I, Stalin? Come on, don't be ridiculous. This is why we can't have reasonable discussions across the political divide. Because everybody wants to throw gasoline on what should be a critical intellectual discussion.
Sir, you're not being honest, and what you're saying doesn't even line up with what you have said about votes. You've talked about quality votes over quantity. I think that is loud and clear. Arizona State Rep John Kavanaugh.
Dishonest. Somebody who doesn't want to be registered to vote, who doesn't ask for a ballot, who doesn't follow politics, who doesn't know the issues, is a different voter from somebody like you whose career is politics and knows everything. I'm not saying those people can't vote, but if they don't want to vote, I'm not shoving ballots in front of them and forcing them to be registered against their will. I think that's freedom.
Their will is to be on that list. And sir, one vote is the same as another vote. This is our right. This is our right as Americans. Sir, I'm going to have to leave it there.
If you don't pay
I'm
your
going to have to
electric
leave
bill,
it there,
they turn
sir.
your power off if you don't mail your bill in.
Sir, I'm going to have to leave it there with you. State Rep John Kavanaugh, thank you.
So.
Thank you for watching the video. Links to the materials will be found in the video description. Comment on your thoughts below. Follow Exhibit Media on your platform of choice and come join the conversation and follow us on Minds. This has been Exhibit Media, signing out.